We will call the Board of Mayor and Aldermen together for Tuesday, May the 23rd at 6 p.m. Tonight, the first order of business is we'll ask our opening prayer to be led by Father Ernie de Blasio from St. Anne's Catholic Church, affectionately known as Father Ernie, to lead us in prayer. Please stand for the prayer. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to follow.
Shall we pray? Knowing that we are always in God's holy presence. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight in humility and faith. We thank you for all that you have given us and the many blessings in our lives. We ask for your guidance and strength. Show us the way and fill us with courage and wisdom. Help us to render your loving grace and to be faithful in our service to you. Give us the patience and understanding to face the challenges of life with grace. We make this prayer in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, I would ask you to please read the future meetings into the record, please.
City Beautiful Commission, June 1st at 6:30 p.m. Family Assistance Commission, June 5th at 6 p.m. Planning Commission, June 5th at 7 p.m. Beer Board, June 6th at 6 p.m. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, June 8th at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll usually at this time we recognize any scouts that's in the audience, and if you're a scout, please stand. No one? You weren't going to stand, was you, Ted? Seeing no scouts, make mention that we just experienced National Police Week last week, and I think our police department had a employee appreciation movie night out Friday night, and just a lot of good things happening there. So we want to thank you, all of our men in blue who served to protect us. Also, there's a lot of another recognition that's going on this week is National EMS Emergency Medical Services Week this week, May the 21st to the 27th. Do we have anybody in the room that serves in our EMS capacity? Please stand. We'd like to recognize you. Yeah, I don't see none of those there. So for those that's not here, you're probably out working. Thank you for all that you do to provide those services to our citizens. Just got a comment this morning from a gentleman that lived out in Davies, Dick, and he was talking about the response time when his wife had a heart attack. So it's on a weekly basis. We always get good comments about response times and the professionalism that our EMS service does and the promptness. And so again, we want to say thank you to all you guys, and for the other guys that are out on. So many of you that are in Public Works, we want to recognize this is Public Works Week this week, which is May the 21st through the 27th. So a couple of things are very important. If you need medical services or everybody likes their trash picked up and light for their water and sewer to work, we want to thank these guys that work diligently, doing a good job of providing those services and everything they do to keep our city in good shape. So with that being said, we'll move to the official business of the day. The first item under official business of the day is approval of the minutes. The minutes from the May 9th, 2003 Mayor Board of Aldermen regular meeting. And without seeing any corrections, omissions, or errors, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move we approve.
Motion by Alderman Jack Young and seconded by Alderman Bobby Simmons. So at this time, trying to keep good notes, we move to the public hearing. At this time, I would ask Madam Clerk to read this public hearing, the first item under the record, please.
Need to vote on the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Do we? I sure did, didn't we? Thank you, Jack.
All right.
They voted.
Is
passed.
It did. Voted passed. Boy, that was quick.
You mind they would leave.
That's right. Got good people working for us, ain't we?
Yeah.
So we'll move to the public hearing. Boy, I'm anxious to get to this so you can see. So the individuals that, when we open the public hearing up, individuals that have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak for either side, either for or against, with a total of 20 minutes for each side. Madam Clerk, will you read item number 1 to the record, please?
Ordinance 23-01, an ordinance to adopt the 2023-2024 General Fund, Street Aid Fund, Solid Waste Fund, General Improvement Fund, Drug Enforcement Fund, DEA Enforcement Fund, Drainage Fund, Parks Improvement Fund, E-Citation Fund, Bartlett City School Fund, Utility Fund, Debt Service Fund, and Capital Improvements Fund budgets.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We open the floor for anyone to come forward and speak in favor of Ordinance 23-01. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Dan Richards. I live at 8855 Memphis Arlington Road. Thank you, Mayor Parsons, for an opportunity to speak in Aldermen. My first order of business is to say that I approve of the budget this year. I think the staff and y'all have done a very good job. I'm standing here tonight with a concern going forward. I've been a resident, my wife and I have been residents of Bartlett since 2011. Due to being annexed. And one of the things we've seen over the last 10 years is a concern about what are the priorities within the city. There is not a municipality in this state or in this country that I think we'd all agree that the priorities for government, the top 3 priorities are the safety of our people, the infrastructure within our cities so that we can move freely as allowed by the Constitution, and education for our students. What I've seen in looking at the budgets over the last couple years is a concern that I have that there has been a little bit of moving away from those 3 priorities and more toward the amenities. The amenities are kind of like the fun stuff. They're nice things that you can do, people like them, and they're applicable to very special people. But in looking, the city has a great deal of deferred maintenance and a great deal of costs that you all know about. And my only ask for you all going forward is we need to make those 3 priorities, which are good for every citizen in the city: education, safety, and infrastructure, the priorities. And I realize some of those are big dollar items, and I realize they're controversial, but if Bartlett is going to remain one of the fine cities in the county, y'all have to really make some really tough decisions, and I would encourage you to use your staff, use the experts we've got here to address those proactively. And don't be behind the 8 ball and saying, well, we'll just kick the ball down the road to the next set of board members or the next mayor. That's all I have to say tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to come forward and speak in favor?
Christine Richards. I live at 8855 Memphis Arlington Road. We're a talkative household. So my husband just encouraged you to address the 3 key functions of local government and ask you to look forward. I'm going to ask you to look forward even further. I am a member of the Mega Site Board for Blue Oval City, and I am very well acquainted with the infrastructure needs that are being driven by that project. I urge you, since sewers are such a big part of the forward progress of Bartlett, that you get involved with what will be stood up as the regional authority, who will be deciding on the allocation of money and the allocation of how things are done as a part of that project. Right now, Ford is building a sewage treatment plant and a sewer line that's going to run from that facility west to the Mississippi River. They have said it's going to be only theirs, but there is room in that easement for a second sewage line. Bartlett, Arlington, and Millington could work together, create a sewage treatment plant that would allow for your expansion. It's not going to eliminate the dependence on Memphis that we already have in place, but hook into that sewer line, and it would relieve much of the pressure I think that this board in the future will face for providing sewer to allow for expansion, particularly subdevelopment expansion where you can't use septic tanks. I am available to any of you at your, should you want to find out more about this, or if you want to have a staff person contact me, I'll leave a card with the clerk. And I just think this is a great opportunity, but you're looking, 10 or 15 years out, and I know it's hard for local folks to have to address that time frame, but this will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for this city. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wish to come forward speaking in favor? Ma'am, I'd just like to address both you two concerns. Two of your things, all three of the things you said was a prior to mine when I ran for mayor. I have you to know that 6 weeks before I took office, I sat in that mayor's office in there and talked about infrastructure. Before I was elected and took office, we had done met with 2 senators, 3 House members. It's a very important priority. We've had 4 meetings so far on the very thing you talked about, and even with our senators. So infrastructure is a key part. I do understand that. We've had to move the ball from in many different areas, and you'll see that infrastructure is a big part of one of the things we're approving tonight. So this administration understands how important sewer is, and to address that. Not only have we addressed that, we've bridged gaps with the city on part of the sewer problem with the city of Memphis. We're bringing one of the solutions, not a study, a solution for a design to move forward to this board tonight. And this is just a start. We've been in office for 4 months now, so it's a priority. Some things take time, and you're talking about a regional system. We've had multiple discussions about that. That is a long-term goal. So we're trying to address these issues. We're thankful for Blue Oval. We want this city to be in position with the needs that might come with that, so that we can address those. So I do appreciate y'all seeing the big picture. I do appreciate your concerns, and we'll take everything you said under advisement and take your card down there. We're willing to listen. We're willing to talk. We've been to Nashville at least 3 times this year talking with our legislators. So we are doing something with that. And a lot of things you just can't always announce, because it takes months and months of planning, meeting, and collaboration. As suburban mayors, we've also been in collaboration, and one of the items that was discussed in the collaboration was this collective regional system. Who's participating in it? There's been a needs assessment on the regional system up there. I have fought to make sure that Shelby County got included in that needs assessment, which our state legislators did not include. So we've moved the ball on that. We've got with our county commission, and we're trying to work I believe we reserved $400,000. Look at that needs assessment going there. So the very thing you got your finger on, we're right there with you. So you put your finger with our fingers, and we'll try to move the dial. Sometimes it's a mountain that can't be moved, but we're moving the needle, ma'am, and we're heading in the right direction. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone that wish to come forward and speak in opposition of Ordinance 23-01, please come to the podium at this time.
Mandy Young, 5560 North Street, Bartlett, Tennessee, 38134. First, I'd like to thank some of the aldermen that I've spoken to, David Reeves, Robert Griffin, Kevin Quinn, and I know, Mayor, we played phone tag. Steve, we talked before here.
Tag, you're it.
So, I know, right? So I do want to thank you for answering my multiple questions, and I do want to make it a point to say that I'm not against the employee raises, because I think they're long overdue. But I do think that the wording that we use and how we communicate needs some work, because, what I was told is multiple things about the tags and the sewage. We have problems. We need to bring more business in because that will raise more money. Well, we have a lot of empty buildings down, and I live in, the old Bartlett area. The sewage is fine still down there. Yes, there might be problems with the air conditioner unit that the tenant doesn't want to pay for, or the person leasing the building doesn't want to pay for. Maybe that's where we come up with tax breaks, etc., for it to get more people in. There's things we can do to bring current businesses to Bartlett right now, And I know that's easier said than done, but I also know I have a marketing degree, so I know that we can do certain things to try. It's not easy, and it's never easy, but, we can work on this. So to say that the sewage is just for businesses, that needs to be worked on. All right. I also want to say I am a single person. So to me, and I know you don't like to use this word in Bartlett, we're on a tiered system. So you can pick whichever word you want to use besides tiered, but I pay the lowest amount possible for water, right? So to me, you've already been making money off of me for years, right? Because I don't use the 2,000 gallons of water a month that I get for a certain amount. All right. That is a lot of people in Bartlett. There's a lot of single people. There's a lot of elderly people. So I'm not talking just in me. I'm looking out for the citizens that are on certain budgets, because if you look at our demographics, we have some elderly people in Bartlett that are probably on certain budgets. You have single people, single families in Bartlett that are on, certain budgets. So by taking these increases and raising them so high in one fell swoop, that hits someone hard, especially in the economy we are. Now, do we need it? I'm not saying we don't. All right. And blaming it on the past administration, 4 of y'all were in the past administration. So we can't, which is what one of your aldermen told me, is that we have to fix from the past administration. Well, to me, 4 of y'all were on there. So y'all could have fixed it in the past. So blaming it on the past administration doesn't help either. I'm just thinking that thank y'all so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a couple of comments that number one, we do understand that your concerns, Mandy. You made some very good points about the business. If you would have attended the 100-day announcement, you'd have found out that we addressed a lot of these empty buildings. And we've had how many meetings, Steve? Numerous meetings. We've hired Jones Hour. There's good things happening. There's good responses, good replies on a lot of the business that you say are empty. And I'm hoping in the next few months that we can make some of those announcements. So we've not sat on our hands. We've been busy. Not only we've been busy, we worked with the chamber to try to address those issues. That we do understand that the existing businesses are important. They're important to the quality of life of all of our citizens around here. They've not been neglected. It's not been overlooked. It's something we've been working on. Again, some of these things just take time to address a lot of these issues. This administration has never blamed anything on the previous administration. There's been comments about the previous administration, and it's even been said that even as much as 6 years ago, things could have been done. A lot of those things haven't been brought to attention 6 years ago. I don't know where 6 years ago come from, but a lot of these issues was addressed in the previous administration, not gone elected. One of them was solid waste that was talked about. If you've been in any of the meetings in the previous years, when we raised our solid waste fund up, our solid waste fund is just like our sewer and water fund. It's something that we don't make a huge profit on and send those profits and spend them anywhere else. When those funds go into those funds, when those revenues go into those funds, they're expensed in those funds. The intent of this administration is to provide that stays on a secure foundation financially going forward, and those have to be addressed from time to time. We've all experienced exponential increases just with COVID, with gas, and with inflation that we're living in now. This administration is addressing the needs of the time so that this administration and our taxpayers going forward will be on solid financial ground. We're not reacting from something from a previous administration. We're doing due diligence and looking forward, not backwards, to make sure that we stay on stable ground, not to produce profits, but to keep the state from coming in and taking over or running our funds because there's a lack thereof. We've identified a lot of those needs, and we feel like that this can't be tiered in because we're trying to create, as this Mr. Gentleman here just created, one of the things that are important in infrastructure. We're trying to look for ways that we don't always go to the bank to fund everything we are. One of the things that we're trying to create is to be positive and look forward and make sure we stay on good financial ground and not run to the bank when bond rates are 5 and 6%. This administration is not doesn't plan on running to the bond market this year and borrow money at 5 or 6%. We worked very hard to try to make sure that we looked at all our fees and assessed those fees so that we stay on solid financial ground going forward. And we do not have to, this budget you'll see, Mister, you'd be surprised to say that we're trying to create a reoccurring expense. For reoccurring expenses, we're trying to generate reoccurring revenue rather than going to the bond market. That's what we're doing. And we want to make sure that our water and our citizens stays sound, stays clean, and stays efficient. We want to make sure that we stay on solid ground, that our employees, and we have our employees, and this city has those resources, that we continue to provide the excellent services that we've been providing and recoup that cost, that we don't run it in the rears or in the negative. But I do appreciate y'all's comments, and we're trying to make things more transparent around here. We're working hard to address a lot of those issues, and we will do a better job going forward to communicate that so that y'all all know what we're doing. We're working hard, and I'm very proud to present this budget tonight. And I'm very thankful that we live in a democracy, that you have the opportunity to come here and state your opinions and your concerns. Again, my phone is open. My phone may not always be clear, Mandy, but I'll return your call. I'm here to listen to the concerns of every one of our citizens. I'm not here to kick the can down the road. I'm not here to try to just punch a ticket and check out. I'm here to make a difference, to improve the quality of life, to try to check things. And just because the other administration may have done a lot of things, this new administration is asking more questions. This administration is looking under every rock. You can ask every director in this room. They've been asked questions that have never been asked before, because we're looking to make sure that we're efficient, that we're competitive, that we're on the front edge. That takes time. That takes resources. That takes money. And we're looking at every way we can so that we don't have to go to the taxpayer's pocket with a tax increase to do that. This city is important to this administration, and this mayor's office is serious about looking and making sure that we have the most efficient, the most well-run city, the best, cleanest the city. Our streets are clean, and I'll promise you, yes, sir, one of those three-legged stools that you just talked about was education. And providing the budget that you'll see later on, I am very proud of the school system. And I'm very proud of the superintendent and that school board, and I'm thankful for the investment that this community has made in our school system. Are we done yet? No, sir. Is there more to do? Yes, sir. Can we do better? Yes, sir. We're not looking for the cookies on the lower shelf. So I hope that I've communicated in a fair and an effective way to try to tell you the heart, the soul, and the mission, who David Parsons is the mayor and leader of this city. Don't know what else I could say, and I don't want to keep you all night. But thank you for your comments, Mandy. Thank you, Mr. and Miss Renner. Did I get that right? Ritter? Thank you for your comments. And I challenge you, come knock on my door someday, and let's have a cup of coffee in my mayor's office, please. So, moving to item number 2, that is a public hearing. Madam Clerk, will you read item number 2 into the record, please?
The public hearing for Ordinance 2301 is adjourned 6:25. Second public hearing, Ordinance 23-02, an ordinance to levy and assess a tax rate for ad valorem taxes upon real property and personal property in the city of Bartlett for the tax year 2023.
This is a public hearing, and anybody wish to come speak in favor of Ordinance 23-02, please come to the podium at this time. Seeing no one coming forward, those in opposition, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please. Seeing no one come forward, we will adjourn the public hearing for ordinance 23-01. We will move to unfinished business. Item number 1, Madam Clerk, please read it in the record for me, please.
Third reading of ordinance 23-01, an ordinance to adopt the 2023-2024 General Fund, Street Aid Fund, Solid Waste Fund, General Improvement Fund, Drug Enforcement Fund, DEA Enforcement Fund, Drainage Fund, Parks Improvement Fund, East Citation Fund, Bartlett City Schools Fund, Utility Fund, Debt Services Fund, and Capital Improvement Fund budgets.
Could you repeat that?
I tried to do it in one breath.
At this time, I will ask Mr. Dick Phoebus, Director of Finance, to give an explanation for the city, please.
Of course, this is the third and final reading of Budget Ordinance 2301. It's passed on 2 readings previously. There is one change, amendment to the ordinance itself. It's in Section 17 of the Budget Ordinance, in which we changed the 20% ratio to 25%. And this is based on, in part, on recommendations by PFM, who made a presentation last Thursday, I believe, on the importance of the fund balance and a comparison with Bartlett with other cities within the county. And this would bring us in line, I think, with at least three other cities, 25% of next year's appropriations. So with that, I recommend passage on third and final reading of the budget ordinance.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve.
Move we approve.
Been was it G. Jack? So been properly motioned by Mr. Jack Young. Is there a second?
Second.
Been properly motioned by Alderman Brad King. I believe that was you, wasn't it, Brad? Mm-hmm. So we have a proper motion and second. At this time we'll move to discussion. Does anybody have anything to... Go ahead.
Mayor, first of all, I'd like to thank the department heads. I know this budget started in January, right after election. We appreciate all you did working on this budget. Dick, we appreciate you and your staff for all y'all done, Mayor and Steve. And during I'm new to this, and during Ed's classes, we can't talk about our vote outside of these meetings, so that it's kind of, we don't know how people feel. So I'm going to kind of poll the board tonight, and I'm asking, are you comfortable with this budget, and do you intend to support it?
I am very comfortable, and I do plan to support it.
Thank you, Alderman Young.
I plan to support it as well. I don't have any objections. Any of the questions that I had have already been answered. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with the position that we're standing.
Thank you, Alderman Griffin. Dave Reed, is there anything you'd like to say? Alderman Reed, excuse me.
Yeah, so I'm going to answer your question. Are you done?
I am.
Okay. So I am supportive, yes. But I will say this. Much like Ms. Young, I've got elderly grandparents who live in this city. I've got elderly in-laws who live in this city. I've got a lot of people on fixed income that are impacted every time we raise fees. So it's not lost on me at all. We have structural issues that we need to fix, and I hate that we have waited so long to do it in the right way. What I have noticed over the years is a lot of times it's a lot easier to not address the elephant in the room versus just tackle it head on. And that's kind of what we're doing this year. And the elephant in the room is this should have been handled over a period of years. But it wasn't. So we're handling it now. But it's not lost on me that this is going to raise fees on people. And in this economy, in this climate, it's not going to get better. And I understand that. The projections for FY24 is not good for the economy. I get that. But if we don't make investments in roads and infrastructure, now there will not be a Bartlett worth living in 10 years. That is my concern. This is gonna hurt a little bit for sure, and I know that. But I also want you to know it's not lost on me that we're going to feel it. Just like we felt it when we raised the tax rate for the high school, We had to do that. If we didn't do that, we lose kids to all other types of schools, and it's helped anchor the community. There's a lot we're working through. We have a lot of challenges, and I understand that, and I hate raising fees, but we're going to have to. We got to fix it. We can no longer issue debt to pay for roads. That's a terrible practice. We're not going to be issuing debt to pay for our LED conversion. That's good news. The more we can get off issuing debt, the better off we are as a city. But I'll also say that I agree with Mr. Richards as well. We got to get back to our core services, and we have to really look at what our amenities really mean. And can we continue to afford to lose money in so many aspects of our government year over year in services? And that's the challenge I put out to the administration. And I know the administration's looking through it, but we have some hard choices to make in this city, because we cannot continue to come back over and over again and ask for fee increases. We have to look internally to figure out, are we doing what we're meant to do? Are our core services what we're focused on? And I know that they're committed to doing that. That's based upon what Mr. Stones and Mr. Parsons has said in a previous meeting. So it's not lost on me. Okay, I support this because we need to fix structural issues in our utility fund and our street aid fund before the state does it. And we have to do this sooner than later. That way we can kind of open up some capacity. And final thing I'll say about existing buildings, I agree. We've got so many out-of-town property owners that own property in downtown Bartlett that we cannot piece together anything down there to create any type of new business. It is terrible. So we're going to have to address that. So I'm on board with that. I would love to fill those buildings up. But let me tell you, the way it is today, we've got out-of-town people who own property. They want so much money to lease and to buy it, and it's a garbage shape. There's no parking. It's a challenge. I get it. So I know we're committed to doing that too. We face real challenges in that space, and I agree. But we have to be able to develop primary business on 64, because that opens up a lot of opportunities for us. So that's part of the reason why I want to fix the sewer. I know this is long and I'm saying a lot of things, but the reality is that I understand and I get it. But our challenges are big, and this is the first step to try and overcome that. So I'm supportive of the budget because
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate the amendment. Sorry, Penny. Apologize. Okay. I do appreciate the administration working very diligently on this budget, answering my questions, my concerns. The things I was concerned about really was making sure that the citizens get their fair share, and non-citizens had to pay their share also. And I do appreciate y'all working on that to get that corrected. The sewers, gosh, we've been talking about that so long. Honestly, I'm really tired of talking about sewers. It's not very sexy, it's not very interesting, but it's just so vital. So I appreciate y'all working on that and getting things done. The bottleneck, I think that was the first thing Memphis asked us to do a long time ago. So I appreciate y'all getting on that. And I do understand, the challenges, finances for people. When we did the property tax increase a couple of years ago, it really was hard on people on my side of town, on the west side. Some went up $800 or $1,000 a year on taxes. It's really hard. Some people in the east went up. One family went up $13, and they were more able to afford it. Maybe we can look at some time about the metering. I mean, I don't think Matt's not here. My understanding of the meters is we have trouble getting smaller amounts of water read through the meters. Talk about the 2,000 gallon minimum. If we could address that sometime, it'd be nice, because we can come back and look at that sometime, right? And see about that process. But I don't know if that includes changing our meters out. So that's something to look at for the future. But I appreciate everybody's input that we've gotten on this budget. It's very complicated. It's very large. But I appreciate everybody sticking with it and being able to answer my questions and concerns and everybody else's. And so I'll be voting for it tonight. Thank you, Alderman Quinn.
Hey, one other thing, just for the record, people watching on TV, we can't have these discussions that we're having right now outside of this meeting. So you're thinking, well, why haven't they already talked about that? We have to be in this meeting to have this type of discussion where we're saying, what do you think? What do you think on a vote? So that's the reason this discussion is going on. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Quinn, I don't know that the 2,000 minimum. I think that's the paper tiger. I don't think it has anything to do with the actual meter itself. Many of you may have read the paper that some of our sister communities are raising their water rates so that they'll have a system that it don't require a man to walk up and flip the lid to read the meter. They're trying to convert to that system. That's something that this city has been doing for 20 years. It was one of the pilots that did that. We just while we're talking water here, just a minute. That's something that we've been doing, and we're probably somewhere between 45 and 50% of our services enable our meter reader to drive into a subdivision and read the meters on 2 streets. So Bartlett is not always the last and the least, and there's a lot of things, if you'll look at, that Bartlett's done very well. They've been on the cutting edge. We're one of the first communities out here to have our own ambulance service. Like I said, a lot of these things you just now seeing that some of our sister cities are doing is things that Bartlett has been doing. I'd just like to bring one other thing to your attention, that the $5 street light fee is waived for all the City of Bartlett citizens who've been granted relief by the State of Tennessee Property Tax Relief Agency. So if you're in one of those areas or one of those individuals, that I'm told there's over 500 of those individuals in our town that are receiving that property tax relief, we will not be asking you to pay that. As a concern, as a heart for those people, to try to address some of the needs y'all just spoke about. And these individuals that probably are on the state of Tennessee property tax relief, probably qualify as someone that probably can't pay that, so they will not pay that. And that was addressed in this budget because the administration had a heart for exactly some of those individuals that you're talking about. Another question has been asked: why can't we layer some of these fees in there? When you're trying to develop and pay as you go, we'd like to step up, and the word is go. So you can't layer those in if you're trying to pay as you go, because you need those funds to generate the revenue to pay so that you can go. And so we will. With that being said, I don't know, Alderman Young.
I would also like to make the comment that many of our sister cities, our fees are still lower than theirs, even with the increase, and many of them are raising property taxes in addition to their current fee structure. So if you think about if your cost at home has increased with the problem of gasoline and groceries and everything else, the city's costs have gone up as well. And you may not understand that fuel costs for the city of Bartlett is significant versus what we pay at the pump. So again, I don't think we're asking for money unnecessarily. I think we're trying to be smart, not issue bonds, and still perform the same services that we always have.
Thank you, Alderman Young. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Phoebus? Seeing no questions, is there any more discussion anybody would like to have?
I'd like to call the question.
Question's been called. So, Madam Clerk, I'd ask that you present the record, call the record, and gentlemen, please go to your device and record your vote. Ordinance 23. We didn't talk so much. We're on item 2, aren't we? Item number 1. Okay, I'm sorry. Good. So ordinance 2301 passes unanimously. So now we move to item number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 23-02, an ordinance to levy and assess a tax rate for ad valorem taxes upon real property and personal property in the city of Bartlett for the tax year 2023.
Before I recognize Mr. Dick Phoebus, this is the current tax rate and is no property tax increase. Mr. Dick
Same
Phoebus.
rate as the last 2 years.
Thank you. So at this time,
Second.
been properly motioned by Alderman David Reeves and seconded by Alderman Jack Young. Is there any discussion on item number 2?
Quick question on this, Mayor. Last meeting, I asked specifically about, can we cut the tax rate? So let's just have an official word. Why can't we cut the tax rate by a cent or two at this point?
I kind of dovetail off what Alderman Jack Young just said, that we'd have to cut something in the budget to give some money back. And we just don't feel like, if you listen to the work meeting that we had last week with the gentleman Ricardo, who gave us an economic forecast for FY23 and FY24. If you turn the news on tonight, if you use those who are retired, look at where your pensions are and what they're forecasting. Everybody's forecasting a downturn into the economy. So at this time, so that we stay on solid financial ground, I just don't think that we need to be refunding 1 cent back to the property owners that we have fought, we have scrapped, we have looked, we have twisted, we have turned for every red penny. So that's why I'm recommending that we better keep the pennies in our pocket, because we may need that going forward. And so hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Reese.
It has, and I don't feel like this budget has been overly painful, but it could have been painful. And so I'm serious. We need to understand what we're not going to, I mean, if sales tax collections are forecasted down this year, which I suspect they will be with a downturn in the economy, I understand why we don't touch this. But also understand, if we have stuff that's hemorrhaging money in the city, that we can't continue to do that. So I'm just reiterating, I'm going to vote for this, but that has to be dealt with sooner than later. Because hopefully next year we come to budget season and you bring up you want to fund something and we don't have the money, what are we going to cut to do it? And you're going to put it, we got to put it on a board. Or if we need to cut revenue or cut the property tax rate, what are we going to cut out of city government? We have to be able to go to the public and say, if we're going to do this, this is what we're going to give up to do it. And we have to make the case to do it. And it's going to get rough over the next couple of years, and I get that. So I'm going to vote for this, but we got to tackle that one and have that hard conversation with the citizens. So.
David, I really appreciate your comments and your candor. I really do.
Yep.
And I want to assure you didn't fall on deaf ears. I can tell you what you just said is in the DNA of these two individuals.
Oh, and, I know it is. I just got to keep the public pressure on, Mayor.
I got you. When we're asking our directors, do you need the 3-hole punch for $8 a month? Do you need the sorting for $7.50 a month? We're looking for pennies, folks. So
I think you're focused on the potatoes and not the meat, Mayor. Let's focus on the meat.
Yeah. My mother always told me, you take care of your nickels and dimes, the dollars will take care of themselves. So we ain't forgot about the meat either. We want it on sale when that's when we buy it's on sale, David. So thank you. Thank you for your candor, and I do appreciate all y'all's comments. And I believe the floor is still open for discussion. Is anybody else wishing to be recognized? If no one would like to be recognized on item number 2, the third reading of ordinance 23-02. If not, Madam Clerk, I please ask that you go to your device and record your vote, please. Motion carries unanimous on the third and final reading of ordinance 23-02. So now, Madam Clerk, we have 8 items on the consent agenda. I'd ask, is there any item on the consent agenda that any alderman would like to remove for separate discussion? Hearing no alderman wishing to remove any of the items on the consent agenda, Madam Clerk, I would ask you to read the consent agenda to the record, please.
Item 1, bid for fire alarm panels, strobes, and horns for Singleton Community Center. Item 2, bid for roof repairs for Public Works General Maintenance Building. Item 3, purchase 4 Dodge Durango police vehicles. Item 4, purchase of camera equipment for police pursuit vehicles. Item 5, purchase computer equipment and associated hardware components for police vehicles. Item 6, consulting contract with Cannon & Cannon for EPA lead and copper inventory. Item 7, treasurer's report for April 2023. Item 8, City of Bartlett fund balance policy revision.
Been properly motioned by Alderman David Rees, seconded by Alderman Robert Griffin. Is any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing no discussion on the consent agenda, please go to your devices and record your vote. I just make one note of item number 6, the EPA lead and copper inventory. We will be going around town, and we've hired Cannon & Cannon. The federal government has asked us to do, try to see if there's, look at all of our lines and do an inventory to see if there's any copper or any lead in our lines due to things that's happened nationally in other cities. So we're working with Cannon & Cannon. They've also are doing the study for the ones in Collierville. So we're checking and making sure that if you see somebody out there around your water meter looking and so forth, we're trying to identify area that we might have. None that we know of. None that we know of. So we're looking to make sure that we keep that record clean. But this is another effort to make sure that our water quality is good. And water quality is good. So with that being said, she has the consent agenda on the dashboard. Please go to your device and record your vote, please. Wow. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda is approved. We will now move to new business. Madam Clerk, I'd ask you to read item number 1 into the record, please.
Moss Valley Sewer Extension Design and Fletcher Creek Sewer System Modeling.
So this item has been placed before you. We have our Director of our Engineering Department, Mr. John Horn, who's fresh back from looking at sewer in other cities.
Speaking of sewer.
And so, Mr. Horn.
So the item I have before you, Mayor and Board and Steve, is for Bard's Design Firm for the Moss Valley Sewer Extension and Fletcher Creek Sewer System Modeling. This is a large contract. And so there is a tremendous amount of work. I know we're all eager to get rid of the word bottleneck out of our vocabulary, and we're ready to move on and try to move on and solve the remainder of our problems in the Fletcher Creek sewer system. So if I can, let me break this down for you and just explain. I know Penny's got a couple of pictures. Penny, if you could go to the other picture. And let me talk about the notorious bottleneck. One more picture. There we go. Thank you, Penny. So as you know, the bottleneck, as you're seeing on here, this would be, the map shows Highway 70 and Highway 64. And I know you've probably looked at this several occasions, but if you can see where Union Depot is, and due south of Union Depot, you're going to see 2 orange lines in a V shape like this. And that's the pinch point. Yeah, this particular area right here. That's the pinch point, and the line downstream of that is a big problem for the sewers. And so this has been modeled and proposed to be replaced with a 15-inch sewer. There's a possibility of maybe making it an 18-inch sewer. And this is going to open up several parcels of property just on the north side of Highway 64, right there at Stage, just a little bit south and east of Union Depot. And so construction estimated, construction is not a part of this. Construction is estimated to be about $3.5 to $4 million. The design of that Moss Valley sewer that you see in green, that proposal is a part of this. That's Task 1 and also Task 2 as a part of this. So that's part of this design proposal by Barge. Now the other picture, thank you, Penny, is this one right here. And the highlighted area in red is the remainder of our Fletcher Creek sewer basin. And if you see over in the corner, over there to the left, keep moving, Penny, move your hand right back over to the right just a little bit. The left arrow, the arrow that's a little bit left of there, right there. That's the bottleneck. Now the vast majority of our sewer that leaves Fletcher Creek is going out of the arrow to the right. And so the goal, what Barge is going to do is model this entire area from Santa Valley, basically Santa Valley, all the way east to our limits. They're going to set up sewer flow meters, 7 or 8 sewer flow meters, and those flow meters are going to be there 6 months to 12 months, and we'll get a great idea. We'll collect a lot of data on our sewers flowing to Memphis, and then this will give us an opportunity to design a potential and future holding tank that has been discussed. And so as a result of this, if you look on page 16 of the contract, this contract with Barge totals $685,000. And so, like I mentioned a minute ago, about $390,000 of this is just the design of the construction plans for the bottleneck. The other portion is for the sewer metering and modeling of our Fletcher Creek sewer system. So this totals $685,000. Now we have plans. We are going to try to reduce that by about $125,000. That's what we're going to attempt to do as a result of that. So we highly recommend Barge doing this. They've done modeling for us. They do a tremendous job. They're the best company for this project.
I'd just like to add a couple of things in our meetings, the couple of meetings that we've had with the city of Memphis, that we would want to make sure there's an agreement. They're very comfortable with the company that we hired. And some people say, David, why is it taking y'all so long to come up with a solution? If you just put that map back up, Miss Penny, that we just saw right there. The reason that you see this on the agenda tonight, going over to the bottleneck, is because what we're wanting to do in the industrial development park there takes 6 months to a year. The bottleneck was approved about a year ago, and it took that long to do the modeling before you can get a determination of what the actuaries are coming through the system, so that you have actuary numbers and know that what you build will accommodate what's coming down the pike. So that takes a while. Takes a lot of different weather situations to understand that. So we have fast-tracked and fast-tracked and fast-tracked. Get this to us, get this to us, get this to us, get this to us. And so that's why you're not looking at a study tonight. You're looking at a design based on the modeling that was initiated in the previous administration. This administration's taking the ball forward again and following what the previous administration did and starting the modeling in this second phase right here. Will we have an answer tomorrow? No. It can take 6 months to 12 months. Why the difference? A lot of it depends on the weather conditions. We want to see what it's like when we get a 3-inch rain. We want to see what does it do to the system when you get a 3-inch rain in a 30-minute period. We want to see what it like the 1.5-inch rain in a 40-minute period. So that takes a time. So we cannot begin to move from point A to point B in that basin until we get that modeling done. So I just wanted to point out that's the reason that we couldn't walk in January and his new mayor point up and say, here's the solution. Because you want to do what you do with taxpayers' money based on facts and figures, not estimates. So that's what we're doing with these two projects right here. So, and that does cost a lot of money to do that modeling, because if you'll see, I think there are 6 locations in F-18 up there. 6 different locations that we're modeling. So that's a lot of affluent up there. So, and we do have a plan going forward. As that's working, are we going to sit on our hands? No. We're going to go back and begin to follow up with the studies that we've already done in January and February, meeting with the users in that basin and asking them, do you continue to see the same use of your property as it is zoned? So that we can then begin to collect data and identify the existing use. We're working hard during this period of time to identify the future use so that we can come back with you with a solid solution. One of the things this administration has done is we've worked with Mayor Strickland and was told prior coming into here that we had to build 1 large tank. That's it. In negotiating, sir, in our infrastructure with Mayor Jim Strickland in my office, he conceded to let us to phase that in. That helps us to be able to plan a little more efficiently and do things effectively. It gives us a lot of flexibility that we did not have before that we do have now. Have we been doing anything with infrastructure? Have you got the rest of the night to talk? So that's kind of the plan. In an effort to be more transparent, in an effort to bring the city forward, we're trying our very best to communicate through our directors and through our administration to make sure that this board, and I'll just say this, I'm very thankful for the board that we have. I'm thankful for the attentive to the details that they have, the concern for the future that they have, and I'm very happy and glad to work with y'all. And thank you for asking the questions. We do not intend for you to be misinformed. Our intention is for you to be informed. And again, we have an open door policy. If you have a question that ain't answered, it's your fault, because we will answer it. And if it don't get answered and you didn't ask me, come see me. We'll make sure your questions get answered. So,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I support the modeling, by the way. Who owns the pipe?
City of Memphis.
So is that legal?
Yes.
So it's legal for us to put infrastructure in the city of Memphis and them to own it?
Yes, we've discussed this with the City of Memphis, discussed it with Mayor Strickland, discussed it with the CAO. I've discussed it with the Public Works Director of Memphis, sewer, his right-hand man, and sewer maintenance. And
what are the risks? What's the risk of this? My hair stands up on the back of my neck with this project a little bit. I know why we do it, but this deal concerns me a little bit. So, particularly since you're getting ready to have a new mayor in Memphis.
What are your concerns, Alderman Reed?
Hey, John, would you point out the fact, how many miles of the city of Memphis sewer do we already currently have besides this in our city?
We do have a significant amount of sewer lines in Bartlett.
It's Memphis owned.
City of Memphis owned
already. And they maintain them, or do we maintain them?
They maintain those.
Okay, good.
Now some of those lines, some of those are in dispute. Some of those are not dispute. Historically, they've been maintained by Memphis for a number of years.
Yeah.
And when I was in here, when I worked here during the 90s, the city of Memphis was constantly in here maintaining sewer lines. They still do that.
Yeah.
And so what is the risk? This is where 2 utility providers are cooperating. The sewer line that's being proposed actually runs down private property.
Okay.
It is not in even City of Memphis Road right away. And I've met with the ownership representative it actually goes through the Green Acres Mobile Home Park. They've already granted us access for survey. Now, have they granted us an easement to put the sewer in? Not yet.
Okay.
But we
haven't asked yet.
Yeah.
We haven't asked
Got
yet.
it.
But within 24 hours, we got access for the land survey. So that's moving very quickly.
So the devil's in the details for me, and I look forward to seeing the final solution. But any time that there is a collaborative type of agreement and you have an outgoing administration and you have a new one coming in who may or may not be as open to working with us, that concerns me. There's a couple of folks that are running for city mayor. I don't even know if they throw us a bone. So that's what I'm a little concerned about, kind of moving forward. So let's just make sure whatever we put together, it's tight.
Absolutely.
Point well taken. And that's why we've done a diligent job to try to make sure that we ensure what we done happens under one administration and don't get carried over to another administration. That's the exponential urgency of getting these things done. Mr. Horn brought the barge group in there to talk about this $685,000 contract. And John, would you repeat the two words that I told them?
Hurry up.
So, we're still open. Gosh, any more discussion or any questions for Mr. Horn?
I'm going to move we approve.
Second, I thought we'd already done that.
Been properly.
We're going to make sure that we did it again.
Let's do it again.
Double down.
Yeah.
Double down.
Hurry up.
So, Madam Clerk, before we get another motion in a second, let's get it. Let's call the record to vote. Motion for the Moss Valley Sewer Extension Design and Fletcher Creek Sewer System Modeling is carried unanimously and approved. So we move to open discussion, and we usually give any board member the opportunity to say anything they wish. Does any board member like to be recognized? Anything to say? Seeing no one wishing to say anything on the board at this time, do we have any director that would like to say anything? Chief Cox.
Hey, this won't take long. I appreciate you, Mayor and CAO Sones and the rest of the aldermen. I'd just like to give you an update. Mayor said at the beginning of the meeting that we came out of Police Week last Friday, and we had a police appreciation dinner. We had barbecue, we had a crawfish fest, we had all kinds of stuff. That money was given to us through donations from Jersey Mike. If you remember a few months ago, the Bartlett Police Foundation had a Jersey Mike Day, and they raised $13,000 for that day. And they also gave money to help pay for some of that food. But what I want to tell you about is we finished up Police Week with a police appreciation, but we started Police Week with the Bartlett Police Foundation 5K race, if you remember that. And all the money that was going for that cause was going to be given to COPS. COPS stands for Concerns of Police Survivors. It was organized in 1984 to take care of families of law enforcement officers who give their life for their community and pay that price of death. 248 police officers died last year doing their jobs. It was a very deadly year for law enforcement. That 248 police officers left thousands of dependents without money. COPS is an organization that steps in to make sure they can pay for their kids' education and pay the bills until they're able to get back on their feet. We have a group of police officers in our department led by Lieutenant Chris Armstrong, who came with the idea of starting the Bartlett Police Charitable Foundation. It is made up of volunteers of our organization with police officers and their families, and they put on the 5K race every year. They went to Washington, D.C. last week for the Police Memorial Service, the National Memorial Service for Police Week. and they were able to donate to the COPS organization $35,000 to give to those families. And I'm very humble and proud. And they're here in the crowd today. So, yeah. I'd like to just to introduce to the board and mayor, I'd like for you to know who's leading that charge for the city and who is making the citizens just proud. And that is the leader of that organization is Lieutenant Chris Armstrong, if he'll stand up. And with him, thank you. And with him is Officer Grant Young. But it's bigger than that, because not only police officers but their families have joined in on that cause. And Kelly Young is in the crowd today. If you'll please stand up. The Bible says there's no greater love than a man who's willing to give his life for his friends. And these folks back here do it every day. And I'm very proud of them, Mayor.
Thank you.
I hope you are too.
Thank you. Come up. Invite him to come down. Grant, it's probably making a mistake letting Grant come down. We don't take what Chief just said lightly. We want to say thank you, and that's a significant amount of money. Is there anything you would like to say, anything the two of y'all like to say?
No, just thank y'all very much. Come out and support us next year. We have other events coming up throughout the year, so we'll have it on our social media page, and Chief Cox will have it on their webpage too.
Mm-hmm. So this mayor and board want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the Grant, you're not going to be quiet, are you?
No. I'll talk all night long. No, we're grateful. We're grateful to be able to do it. We're grateful to have the backing from the police department and, from City Hall, and then also, the citizens. The citizens are the ones that come out here and give. That's the money that we get. So ultimately, we thank everybody else for being able to help us out.
Well, with that being said, the Jersey Mike's thing, I talked to the management with them, which we do a photo op tomorrow with them. They present us the check and all this. The city of Bartlett came out in droves. They had lines for hours going to Jersey Mike, and they ended up, I was told that day they were the fifth largest donation in the United States. So
say that again.
That Jersey Mike's in Bartlett was fifth in the nation in money raised for that day, that one day. Fifth in the nation, so I think that's pretty good for Bartlett.
Yeah, I think that speaks to the heart of our citizens. So thank you for bringing that point up. So thank y'all for y'all's hard work, and again, thank you. I know the chief and the administration thanks you, and we want to say thank you again. Keep on keeping on, fellas. I think we was at the director's slot. Does any other director have anything they would like to make an announcement on? So seeing no director coming forward, this time we move to the citizens portion of the meeting. If there's a citizen in the audience that would like to come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you can talk about anything you want to as long as you stay within 3 minutes. Seeing no one come forward at this time, this chair would like to get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Bobby Simmons and seconded by Mr. Robert Griffin. So this concludes, and the meeting for Tuesday, May the 23rd is adjourned.